Welcome to Skytech-Lens, right? Let's get into it. Imagine global trade as a Jenga tower, carefully balanced, always at risk. In April 2025, the Trump administration didn't just pull a block, they kicked over the whole table. A sweeping new tariff, 10% on all imports and a jaw-dropping 145% on Chinese goods. The pitch? Protect American jobs, punish rivals, and bring back manufacturing glory. But tariffs aren't paid by foreign governments. They're paid by American importers, who then pass the cost to you. Instead of a masterstroke, it was a self-inflicted wound, disrupting the very supply chains that keep the economy humming. As the dust settled, giants like Amazon weren't waiting, they were already plotting their next move. Enter Amazon, the titan of e-commerce responsible for nearly 40% of US online sales. When the tariffs hit, Amazon didn't hesitate. Within 2 months, it tore up and rewrote $13 billion in supply chain contracts. This wasn't a tweak, it was a seismic shift. The message was clear. If the US became too costly, Amazon would simply reroute its river of goods elsewhere. Instead of absorbing the cost, Amazon sidestepped it, diverting shipments away from US ports to new hubs in Mexico, India, and Vietnam. These countries became the new gateways for North American-bound goods. For Amazon, it was ruthless logic, efficiency first, nationalism second. Tens of billions in trade were rerouted in months, leaving US ports in the dust. Amazon treated America as just another node in its global network, a node that had suddenly become unreliable. The Great Escape had begun. Amazon wasn't alone. The tariffs were a massive tax on doing business in America, and companies recoiled. Instead of boosting US industry, the policy triggered a corporate exodus. Bloomberg reported imports through the US were set to drop 20% by year's end, with e-commerce giants like eBay and Alibaba following Amazon's lead. The irony? America First was pushing America's biggest companies to put the US last. US imports plunged 15% in the first half of 2025 as businesses scrambled to avoid the new costs. The dream of a manufacturing renaissance collided with reality. Tariffs made it more expensive to assemble anything in America. By taxing the parts, the final products became pricier and less competitive. Instead of strengthening the economy, the policy forced it into retreat. What does all this mean for you? Prices are soaring. Companies pass their new costs to consumers. Every click, every checkout, you pay more. Electronics? Up 25% thanks to the China tariff. That new phone or laptop? Out of reach for many. Even basics hurt. Walmart reported a 12% jump in costs for everyday goods. For low-income families, it's devastating. 30% cutback on food spending in 2025. The America First policy became a stealth tax on Americans. Analysts warned prices for clothing and electronics could climb another 10–20% by early 2026. If tariffs stay, retail prices could surge 15–20% by year's end, costing the average household $1,000 more per year. That's not just pocket change, it's rent, a car payment, or groceries. The price of this experiment is being paid by ordinary Americans. While consumers pay more, America's port cities face a crisis. The Port of Los Angeles saw container traffic plunge 22% in a year, thanks to Amazon's rerouting. That's over 10,000 jobs gone. Dock workers, truck drivers, warehouse staff, and more. The very workers tariffs were meant to protect are now the hardest hit. Long Beach and other major ports report similar declines, the hum of commerce replaced by anxiety. Instead of bringing jobs back, the policy is destroying them in logistics and shipping. Experts warn another 15% of port jobs could vanish by mid-2026. Once trade and investment move elsewhere, it's nearly impossible to bring them back. The empty docks stand as monuments to a policy that backfired spectacularly. The human cost is real, and growing. As US ports dim, Mexico, Vietnam, and India are booming. Capital flows where it's welcome, and these nations are seizing the moment. Mexico is rapidly expanding logistics hubs, Amazon's new base for North America. By mid-2026, Mexico could handle 30% of Amazon's regional goods. Vietnam's exports are surging, fueled by companies fleeing US tariffs, adding 2% to its GDP in 2025. India's logistics sector is growing 12% annually, becoming a key global hub. These countries aren't just picking up scraps, they're reshaping global trade around themselves. America builds walls, others build bridges. The new world order is being written elsewhere. The promise was simple. Tariffs would protect jobs and revive US manufacturing. The reality? Job losses in ports and retail, higher costs for businesses, and a shrinking economy. The Peterson Institute predicts a 1% drop in US GDP by 2026. China, the intended target, isn't kneeling. It's pivoting, signing new trade deals and building alternative blocks. America's share of global imports could fall 20% by mid-2026. The administration saw trade as a zero-sum game, but global commerce is a web of mutual dependence. By trying to win by force, the US damaged its own credibility and drove partners away. The grand plan to make America great again has left it weaker and more isolated. It's a self-inflicted wound of historic proportions. The biggest loss isn't just economic, it's influence. For decades, the US was the anchor of global trade, shaping the rules and reaping the benefits. Now, by forcing companies to flee, America is giving up its seat at the table. New logistics hubs in Mexico, India, and Vietnam are shifting the balance of power. These nations are aligning with new trade blocs, signing deals that could lock out the US. America is no longer seen as a reliable partner. Trust and predictability are gone. The Financial Times warns the US could lose 10% of its global influence by 2027. For American workers, fewer opportunities and a shrinking market are the new reality. Prosperity comes from connection, not isolation, and America is drifting further from the center. In summary, the 2025 tariff policy has backfired at every turn. Instead of punishing rivals, it punished Americans, raising prices, destroying jobs, and driving companies away. Amazon's $13 billion supply chain overhaul is just the start of a global realignment. The consequences ripple through every level of society, from higher prices to empty ports. Meanwhile, Mexico, Vietnam, and India are building the future of trade, without the US. The path ahead is uncertain. Will America reverse course and rejoin the global community, or continue down the road of isolation? Rebuilding trust and investment will be a monumental task. The choice is stark: reconnect or watch from the sidelines as a new world order emerges. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel for more updates.